okay?
I haven't eaten for too long today, and I knew this was coming.
Do you want to go grab like a handful of nuts or something?
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sad.
No, please go get food.
I didn't know why I didn't think of grabbing nuts before. Oh my god. Look, for people who have problems with mouth noises, we gotta cut this all out. You know what? This is such a good idea. I love you. Thank you, my friend.
You're so funny. I could immediately tell after we were giggling, laughing, and then you just like powered down.
Couldn't help it. I was like, you know when your body makes you do a sigh because you're not getting enough oxygen?
Yeah.
It kept doing that to me for like the last hour, and I was ignoring it like a fool. I'm back, baby. I look like, this is some Buffalo Bill shit. I look fucking creepy. I look like a porcelain doll.
Porcelain.
4 head, 5 head. Hi everyone, welcome back to VomCom, the podcast where we talk about the romantic comedies that we love to hate.
And hate to love. I'm Kat.
And I'm Molly.
And this week, in week 2 of Glen Powell March Madness, we have watched Hitman.
This is part of our Glen Powell March Madness. You can go back and listen to part 1, episode 33, Anyone But You. We have our review on that. And then the previous episode to this one, episode 40, is Set It Up. And you can listen to that one as well. Once we're done our March Madness, we're going to take all the reviews, aggregate them, and put them into brackets so that they can square up against each other and see which is the best Glen Powell movie out of the 4.
Out of the
Only
4, because he's done a fair amount of movies. They all haven't been rom-coms. And even this one, I want to say, is a little stretch.
Who among us, who in this room knew that this was not a rom-com, silly goofy, and was in fact a dark comedy, Nietzschean thought experiment? Not me.
But it has romance and it has comedy.
Yes.
Is it a typical romantic comedy? I would say no. This movie, a fairly new movie, came out in 2023. Directed by Richard Linklater of Dazed and Confused, Boyhood, if people remember that. What else has he done? There's a lot I am not naming. But screenplay by Richard Linklater and Glen Powell. Did you notice that?
I did notice that. This is a Glen Powell March Madness double feature. Not really, but double trouble or something. I don't know. We don't need to add more monikers to this thing we're doing.
Richard Linklater did School of Rock, Boyhood. He did the TV show for School of Rock, but then he also did the movie for School of Rock. But yeah, this movie came out 2023, like I said. It's the second time Glen Powell has worked with Richard Linklater. I actually meant to say this in the Set It Up episode. So Zoe Deutsch and Glen Powell from Set It Up were in a Richard Linklater movie previously called...
Was it the one with 3 exclamation marks?
Yeah, Everybody Wants Some. Actually, 2 exclamation marks, which I didn't like. It has to be 1 or 3.
Yeah. What are you doing? 2 exclamation marks is just like standing in the middle of the road. Like, pick a side, you're gonna get hit. You know?
Yeah. So Zoe Deutsch and Glen Powell were both in Everybody Wants Some. They had like 2 scenes together. And it was in that movie that Zoe Deutsch was saying to Richard Linklater, I think that Glen and I should be in a rom-com together. Like, we should kind of work that out.
Okay.
Yeah, so she kind of manifested it. And it was funny because then I was going to come into the episode to say he's had 2 leading ladies kind of produce romantic comedies just for the sake of him being in them. But then actually he said that he was signed on to work on Set It Up first. And the original girl was supposed to be Emilia Clarke, but then she dropped out to be in Solo.
Sorry, what is Solo?
That prequel Star Wars Han Solo movie. But yeah. So anyways, they were all talking about working together, and then Richard Linklater and Glen Powell decided to work together on this, and they wrote the screenplay together. Richard Linklater directed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Glen Powell produced it. I think Glen Powell's dad also produced it, because there's a
Mr.
Alan
Powell.
Yeah, there's an Alan Powell in there.
And they really wanted to work together again, but they were like, we can't link now, we gotta link later. Who thought there would be a connection between... Linklater was the connection between those 2 movies.
I know. Not I. Not this person.
Not this person dressed up in a camo headscarf and neck tattoos.
This all-American man.
America. Just eagle sound effects.
Gunshots. Yeah, so this movie is kind of based on a true story, which is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. I love movies based on true stories, but kind of based on true stories.
Yes.
Because not every movie has to be spotlight, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
Like, we need those movies, but we also need these fun movies, because, like, this is it's a fun premise. Like, if they had just made it a fact for fact kind of thing, that would be, like, okay, but I like all of the liberties that they took for things, because it just makes, again, make movies fun again. Make everything fun again. My dog agrees. He said,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Roo, roo, roo.
Molly,
Yo.
have you ever seen this movie?
No.
First time?
It was saved on my list on Netflix, but again, I thought it was, from the trailer, I thought it was a very different movie. What
Me
the vibe
as
was going to be different.
Me as well. I didn't even see the trailer really until kind of this time around, but I saw a lot of the press for it because obviously I love to watch a Hot Ones. I love to watch an interview. I love the
Mm-hmm.
press tour people have to do for a movie coming out. And him and this girl, which I can't remember her name, Adria Arjona. I saw them in an interview, which was fun.
She is beautiful.
Oh my god, bro. Beautiful.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't know this was a Richard Linklater movie. When I first heard this movie, I was like, oh, okay, like this is what I guess they're trying to make Glen Powell do. Like I thought it was like it's like showing that he can be a leading man and do action and stuff. I thought it was kind of that. I thought it was not as kind of silly goofy as it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I thought it was going to take itself a little too seriously. So I was pleasantly surprised.
You thought they were trying to Chris Pine him?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise him? Yeah.
Tom Cruise him, John Krasinski him.
Oh my god, John Krasinski as a verb is the most perfect way to describe that dynamic. Of being like, he doesn't do funny anymore, okay? Back off. He's serious action boy now.
Your first time watching this movie, what did you think? Maybe it's time to
take off the glasses. Oh, by the way, the reason that we look crazy is because, well, Kat looks slightly less crazy. Kat just looks like she came from a farming town. But Kat is dressed up as one of the alter egos of our main character, Gary Johnson, who is a professor moonlighting as a fake hitman to help people, like to help the FBI foil murder for hire plots. So one of his characters that he does is named Nico. That's me. Kind of Winter Soldier Snape vibes.
Yeah. Nico the Russian.
Nico the Russian. Yeah. It's giving Cold War.
And I am all-American country boy. I think he's from Louisiana. I can't remember his accent. I didn't rewatch a clip of him. But neck tatted up to the jaw, bro. Hand tattoos. Camo bandana. Carhartt vest. Freedom shirt, which I could not find, but that's Tanner. My favorite scene, well, Tanner was on screen for like a minute.
Yeah.
But when he's talking to the guy who Gary's trying to entrap as Tanner, after he says something, he fucking nut taps him. And
that was so funny.
It was so funny. And I'm going to say something. When I was younger,
yeah,
I loved a nut tap. I love to say something and go, "Whapow!" and then run away.
That's on brand.
Yeah, sorry.
Why are you sitting here like you're gonna break some bad news to me and you're my doctor?
Imagine I'm your doctor. I pull up
and the news is I'm gonna nut tap you now, and then you tap and then run.
Your balls ain't good. Tap! Run.
Your balls are mine, bro.
Your balls.
You know what you should do? You should put the glasses on top of the bandana. I feel like that's a thing that people do for sure.
Look at these. Because they kind of like bend.
Do they
have
angle?
Like, yeah, they angle. So it's like, if I'm going, huh?
Is this NASA? I've never seen anything like that before.
I know. It's crazy. That's my outfit. I loved getting ready for this today because I think it's so fun. I love my neck tattoos. It wasn't even painful.
The weird thing is that it kind of suits you.
You think the neck tattoos?
No, I mean, maybe not the neck tattoos, but the rest doesn't look so unnatural. You look
I know, right?
Pretty comfortable and confident in it.
I know. I think I gotta start doing it.
Maybe the rednecks are onto something.
Okay, let me read you the logline like 45 minutes into the fucking episode. So this is Hitman. A professor moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department descends into dangerous, dubious territory when he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services. That's a good logline.
No notes.
No notes. I think it paints the whole picture.
Yeah, agreed. Literally.
Agreed. So yeah, your first time watching it, my first time watching it, what did you think?
Broad strokes, mixed emotions. Because I went in expecting it to be one thing, and it wasn't that thing, which is okay. I can pivot, you know. I was enjoying the first 2 acts tremendously, and then I think it went off the rails towards the end of the second act, and then the climax and denouement felt like a different movie. I was like, wait, what? We can get into it as to why, but I've been thinking about it ever since I watched it, and I'm having a really hard time articulating why this movie weirded me out so much. There's a lot of stuff I like about it in the first 2/3, but the ending, they really failed to stick the landing at the end. It felt very weird. What about you? What do you think?
I would agree with you. So I mentioned earlier that this story is based off of a real story. It's based off of a real Gary Johnson who did this work, right? And at the end of the movie they show like pictures of the real Gary Johnson.
Yes.
And then one of the pictures about him, I guess, moonlighting as a hitman. It's like Gary Johnson as a hitman, and then in brackets it says, except for the murder, we made that part up.
That was
Right?
funny. I like that.
Yeah, so I like that. It is very clear that that was added in, and because it didn't belong to the whole story, it was a little shoehorned in.
Yeah.
So then that's why it's like, how then do you come out of this? Because the whole basic premise is he's not a police officer, he's just moonlighting. And then there's a reason why he all of a sudden has to pretend to be the hitman that's going to meet these people and like basically entrap them. And then he's really good at it because he's a professor of what, like psychology, human behavior, essentially.
Yeah.
And he likes to figure out people. The reason why he dresses up as all of these different characters is because he's going into it with that person's perception of what they think a hitman is going to be. So that's what he presents to them, right?
Mhm.
He's like wish fulfilling, which is like,
he says,
sick.
my job was to become the fantasy.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Keep on
Yeah,
going.
it is Glen Powell.
And so then he's doing it. He's putting away people for that. And then he meets this lady who is obviously a beautiful lady. She walks in and he's like, wow, 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 wee wow.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously, awooga, awooga, eyes falling into his pie.
Cartoon steam whistle appears next to head and pulls, the steam escapes. Heart pounds out of chest.
And she wants him to kill her current husband because he's abusive, all this stuff. And she's too scared to leave him. And then because he knows that if he agrees to it, and she also agrees to it, and she gives him the money, they're going to arrest her and all that stuff. So he, in that moment, tries to talk her out of it so she can walk away. So then they can't arrest her. And then so she leaves that interaction and goes, you know what, you're right. Maybe that wasn't the solution. I'm going to go turn my life around. So she goes, she turns her life around. Then she, I guess, invites him to a dog rescue thing in the park, a dog adoption event. And then she texts him and invites him. And he goes as the hitman character that he presented to her, which is
Ron,
who is the like sexy kind of, I want to say like cowboyish, because his outfits were very like cowboyish, like Western is what
modern cowboy type beat. Not a boots and a cowboy hat, but the same vibe.
But like shirt. I would love one of those shirts. I would love that like those kind of clothes, like Orville Peck kind of wears, but like less like rhinestones, like the actual shirt.
Less camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the base garment.
So yeah, he goes and he meets her as Ron, and there's heavy flirting, and then they start hooking up. And Molly, this is the sexiest movie we've ever done.
Yeah.
Like, I was not expecting to be seeing these scenes.
I was giggling, blushing.
Bro, so was I.
I was taken by Glen Powell's various characters.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, why I like that? They're all... This is two sides of the same coin. A like and a dislike of mine is that I liked the way that he excelled at the character performance of these hitmen he's pretending to be. How he was good at his job. It was very satisfying to watch. And seeing his range of all the different characters was such a fun watch, and really like kind of like a showcase for Glen Powell. But then on the other hand, something that Amy pointed out, because we watched it together, and I was like, yeah, there was something I was trying to put my finger on, and she really summarized it when she said, he's meant to be this meek professor who is really passionate about his work, but he's not a cool guy. He's not like really confident. Yeah. But then as soon as he goes into character, the switch flips to uber confident, uber smart, uber good at improv version of him, where he's like put in these situations. He is obviously a different personality. And I know that's the whole question of the whole movie is like, can you change your personality, fundamentally speaking? Can you like bring things into existence by acting out certain scenarios and acting in certain ways, basically manifesting? And I get that, but it just happened so quickly from the very first time he got thrust unexpectedly into that role. And it was like night and day. And then as soon as he walked away, like after the sting, you see him like crouching behind a pillar, like so awkwardly, like pushing his glasses up and stuff. It was just so stark. And it would have been, I think, a bit more of a human experience for him to have a learning curve
and
then get better at it as he goes.
Yeah. Especially with Ron, who the other characters that he plays, he's putting stuff on. So he's putting on wigs. He's gluing on a beard. He's putting on tattoos, that kind of.
He's putting on his fuck-ass bob.
He's putting on his fabs. Yeah. And with Ron, he's actually taking off stuff. He's taken off his glasses. He's actually doing his hair in a different way. I feel like it's less of a performance, which means to me that it should have been a little bit more difficult for him to be Ron. He should have been stumbling a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I also think, and this will speak into like the romance, I feel like he got confidence because of how interested she seemed in him. And he was like, fireworks? What the fuck?
Exactly. A cat accidentally just triggered the fireworks reaction. Wait, what did you actually do to get the fireworks? Was it this?
I don't know.
Oh, confetti. That's new.
Okay,
anyways.
But yeah, that's why I feel like it's what gave him confidence, is that he was seeing that she was being enticed, allured by him. And who can blame? She's just a girl.
Who can blame she? Who among we?
Not we. We
Not
know
we.
throw stone.
Mm-mm.
That's my only kind of explanation that I put to that about why he's all of a sudden so successful in being Ron and like slipping into the Ron character, is that he was powered by her horniness, you know?
A great motivator.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it's like a great Glen Powell showcase. Again, it wasn't the movie I was expecting to see, and I heard more about it after like the interviews that I'd seen them do about what this movie is and like all the things that he plays, and I was like, maybe it's kind of interesting. What are some of your likes?
I liked that it was set in New Orleans.
Ugh, so did I.
I clocked it from the jump. As soon as you see him driving around as a big man in a little car through the streets, I was like, that looks like New Orleans. And then there was like some French street names, and then later on he said something Louisiana, and I was like, okay, so we don't know that 100% it's New Orleans, but it's somewhere like that. And it's a big enough town that they're having to do multiple sting operations to foil murder for hire plots. So I'm thinking a big town like New Orleans. I like that.
When he's actually coming back from meeting the girl, because like maybe if you didn't notice it or you didn't pick up that they were saying like New Orleans PD, which is who won.
Oh, yes.
Our beautiful Retta.
Yeah, that was another one of my likes. When she popped in the van door, I was like, Retta!
Yeah, that's literally what I said. I screamed Retta. He was on the streetcar and I was like, that's a New Orleans streetcar. And then you saw the houses and stuff and I was like, this is New Orleans, baby.
Yeah. So that was nice. That was cool. I haven't seen that many movies set in New Orleans, so it was nice to see. And I was just reminiscing back to our trip recently, so that was a nice reminder of how pretty that place is. I was totally like rapt. My attention was glued to the screen whenever Glen Powell was doing his different acts, which I've already mentioned. But I was looking. Especially at Ron. I was looking. I was listening. I was in it. I get it, Madison girl. I get it. Especially when he like pulls out the gun and he goes, apologize, motherfucker. I was like,
oh my god.
Oh my god, Glenn. Stop.
Bro, we'll talk. I think we should leave a little bit, a lot of time for the romance.
Okay.
Because I think we have things to say.
Oh. Yeah, I guess you could say that.
My favorite thing about casting hot guys to be like nerdy, frumpy, dumpy guys, when they are still hot, like at least in Captain America, the first Avenger, they had the decency to like CGI Chris Evans.
Yeah. Because
if he was trying to play a small mousy boy when he looked the way that he did, who would have paid to see that movie? You know, I'm like, there's only so much I can suspend my disbelief. So that's what's so funny to me about this movie, is that they put glasses on Glen Powell. They flattened his hair, kind of gave him a comb over, which does not work because that man has a full head of hair. It's actually so funny because when I was looking up photos of the specific character that I was gonna dress up as, I found articles, and I think the hair and makeup person or the costume person, she was talking about how hard it was to like make him look dumpy because he's such an attractive, handsome man. And like she talked about his full head of hair and how to make it like look nerdy and ugly.
They had to resort to the big guns. Yeah, they had to resort to the big guns. They put him in jorts and a shirt with underboob sweat. They gave him the Costco XXL 2002 collection, like striped polo shirt and jorts. And those like hiking sandals. They really tried.
socks and sandals.
Yeah, dude.
And the thing that I actually found hard to believe is that no one clocked that this man is hot, because obviously we can see like it's Glen Powell, obviously.
Mhm.
But if I was in that classroom, I was like, I don't care how fuck ass your glasses are. I don't care how fuck ass your hair is. If I see the forearms that you have,
The jawline.
bro, if I see that jawline, that neck, those forearms, I don't care what else you have on. If I see those three things and they look the way that they do on Glen Powell, I would be like, that person is hot. And everybody in my class would be like, you're fucked up. You're sick. You need to see someone.
If it's one thing about you, you have the vision.
Yeah. If it's one thing about me, I'm going to clock features and I'm going to be like, I see. Because when he came home and he's like, yeah, I just like feed my birds. And he's like watering his plants or he's filling bird feed. And I saw his arm. I was like, you people are blind.
Yeah. Liars.
No, liars. You don't see the vision. You don't see beyond the glasses and the hair.
They tried to she's all that him.
Yeah.
We saw through it.
I saw through it. We saw through it. And then it cuts to like at the end when he's obviously gained more confidence and like Ron and Gary are then like merging into one person. And he hasn't even changed his look that much.
He just starts to look like Indiana Jones professor mode.
Yeah. And then it cuts to one of the students when he's talking, because he's also like one great voice and he's
passionate speaker.
That's also enough to get me.
Again, I know that about you.
I think people are too vain. And I may be talking about a man's forearms, but if he has a nice neck and can talk intelligently about a thing he is passionate about, girl, you better lock your husbands away.
If your husband can engage a room,
get him out of my line of sight.
Put him in Rapunzel's tower, honey, because I'm coming for him. I see that one button undone on the top of the shirt.
So in that scene, close to the end, they're having outdoor class time on the grass. He's really engaging them. And then it cuts to these two girls sitting. She's like, when did our professor get hot?
That was funny. I like that.
It was so funny. It's one of my favorite quotes, but I was like, he's been, motherfucker.
Scram. I got here first.
Will say, just like Adam Scott, bro, the validation I feel when everybody on TikTok is like, Adam Scott, I was not aware of your game. And I was like, fuck all of you.
Sorry, did no one watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah, sorry. You were blind to Ben Wyatt and you thought he was just a nerd. You guys don't see potential.
That's their flaw.
It is. Second chances for angular jaws.
You know what? Sometimes beautiful people do deserve more.
Who's your favorite of his alter egos besides Ron?
There was one hitman who went to go see like a teen boy who wanted to kill his mom. And he had like, I'm pretty sure he also had neck tattoos and like a facial scar.
He had a big old scar.
It reminded me of like Snake Plissken or something. It was giving like 80s movie, like a hardened anti-hero. I liked him, and I liked Boone, who was the one with like the ratty ponytail in the car with the older lady. He was just kind of like silly, like weirdly innocent for a hitman, and I was like, girl, you're buying this. He was just so cute, even though his dentistry was fucked up, but like, I don't know, give a guy a chance.
I love when she put her hand on his lap.
And he was like, gosh.
He's like,
Who was your favorite?
My favorite was Tanner, obviously.
Nut Tap Tanner.
Nut Tapner. And then the other one that was the redheaded one, who was based off of, what's that actor's name? It's not Benicio. Who's the one in
No Country for Old Men?
Yeah. Why am I forgetting his name? Javier Bardem?
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently that hairstyle was based off of Javier Bardem's look in No Country for Old Men.
I like that there were a lot of references like that.
Yeah.
The Patrick Bateman reference.
Yes. I also like that he could do the accent.
Yeah.
He could do a British accent, which I was surprised by.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job in this movie, honestly.
He really did. He really acted.
Yeah.
He capital A acted. Imagine acting in a movie.
He really did his job that day.
Sometimes it's rare for people to act and also be entertaining, because there's acting, Oscar Beatty acting,
Yeah.
But it's not entertaining.
Yes.
It's entertaining because it's like maybe good, but it's on a different level. Like it's more moving, a more moving performance. And it's not like he doesn't have moments that are a little vulnerable or whatever, but he's very entertaining to watch.
Yes.
Very charming.
Which is what we like about him, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
He just seems like someone who gets along with everyone in real life.
Any other likes?
I have a few.
Yeah.
I like that face he kept pulling whenever he was in his own persona of Gary. and he was a little bit uncomfortable or whatever, he kept on doing this Kermit face like this. That was like his tell that he was
Gary.
That he was Gary. He was a little feeling awkward. I liked his little sleepy eyes when they were pillow talking in that one scene. I thought he looked so cute. So cute. I liked when he sat back to back with Mike in the diner. When Mike, Madison's current / ex-husband, that's foggy territory, tried to recruit him to kill her, and he intercepted. And he knew that if he sat face to face with him, he would be like recognized. So he sat back to back. Improv king. We love that.
I love how smart he is.
He's very smart. Yeah, it's satisfying.
It is very satisfying.
When I was doing my like storytelling course, basically, which was like kind of like screenwriting, it's kind of a screenwriting course, but they were saying that like your protagonist does not need to be likable, but they need to be one of 3 things. And I think that those 3 things were likable, good at their job, like really successful and like kind of like a maverick. That's why people like Sherlock Holmes, even though he's a dick. He's really good at his job, that kind of stuff. Or empathetic. When you have an anti-hero, maybe they're not good at their job. Maybe they're not even likable, but they are empathetic because you have an understanding of their motives and stuff like that. So I feel like that he hits like 2 of them.
Yeah.
I liked when he was having his secret fling with Madison for a little while and things were coming unraveled a little bit because her husband was found dead. He didn't kill him. So he's like, what happened? I don't know. And then he goes over and finds out that Madison popped him. He's like freaking out, but then he gets called into the station. And when he goes into the station, they're like about to blow up his spot. And then Jasper, that super greasy cop who is like annoying the whole time, is like giving him veiled threats in that meeting. And so he like turns it around on Jasper. They were like, have you seen her since that day that she tried to get you to kill her husband? And he was like, yeah, I saw her one time when we were at that like snow cone shop or something. And then they were like, you seen her? And then Jasper starts getting up in his grill and he's like, yeah, actually, you saw her too. And I bet like basically like the subtext was, I bet you didn't tell everyone else in this room that you saw her that day, huh?
Yeah.
Right? And so he was playing chess while Jasper was playing checkers. And I like that. Again, it goes back to him being smart and it's very satisfying to watch.
Yes.
And I love the scene when he goes back after that meeting to her house wearing a wire. And they've had the last time they've seen each other, she just found out that he wasn't a real hitman. He just found out. So he's been lying to her the whole relationship. And she found out that she just killed her husband the night before and very nonchalantly just mentioned it to him. So they've had a fight. So he goes back to her house. She doesn't know what's going on, but he immediately uses his notes app.
So smart. I was so stressed.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how they were going to get out of this. And then when he was going and he was driving, I was like, fuck, dude. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
What's your plan?
Yeah.
So he's walking in there with a wiretap and a bunch of cops in a truck outside listening to the whole conversation. He goes in and he uses the notes app to tell her what's happening and like coach her to not incriminate herself or him. So they're having this whole like very theatrical pantomime fight while he's like frantically typing out notes and they're all improving, like what, like pretending to be outraged at each other. He's still in his hitman persona. It's so funny. He's
like vamp.
Yeah, vamp a little, like sell it. And at the end,
energy,
more footwork, more energy. And then at the end, he like walks out and on his way out, he's like something to the effect of, bye bitch, see you never. But then he winks.
I know. I love how like the words they were saying, she was like, fuck you, get the fuck out of my house. But he was like smirking at her because she's doing a good job.
I know you love that.
I know. And then she was also like making eyes at him. And I was like, you guys literally cannot calm down.
You're crazy people. This is Sid and Nancy. This is some fucked up shit happening right here.
And I will say, I'm going to be brave and say something. Normally I'd be like, that's stupid. You're acting crazy. But who could blame her?
Your Honor, the defendant did nothing wrong. The defendant is just a girl. Okay, standing in front of Glen Powell.
Standing in front of Glen Powell in a nice Western shirt, looking down at me in a seedy New Orleans bar.
Probably smells good. I mean, Your Honor, please.
Arm behind the back of my chair.
Bro, the way my knees would be wobbling. I'd be akimbo, dude. Words, putting them together in my brain and getting them to come out my mouth would be a challenge. So Who can blame Madison? She is not guilty.
Hashtag not guilty.
She's never done anything wrong in her life. We know this and we love her.
Yeah. So what if she got rid of her ex-husband? He was a dick.
Yeah. He was telling her. She said, my husband didn't like dogs on mini skirts and beach waves, essentially. I'm like, what's wrong with your husband? She had to straighten her hair every day for this man, and then she shows up with this like beautiful natural beach wave scenario, and I'm like, and in a mini skirt around puppies, and I'm like, what is his problem? He does suck.
He does suck.
Maybe some people, no, I won't say it. Maybe some fictional people in this fictional world fictionally deserve to fictionally simply not exist anymore. Fictionally.
I like her as an actress. Like, I think she had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I like the character necessarily. There were times where I could get a little annoyed with her, and I was like,
yeah,
this is very kind of clearly written by men. And then I was also thinking, I was like, is she faking this? Like, is she her own assassin? Because it was like sometimes a little too, like putting it on a little too thick, the way she was digmatized. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, I was deeply dissatisfied by the ending of this movie.
Yes.
Because something wasn't adding up the whole time. Things were not adding up in a way that in any other movie would have been clues to a plot twist. They were that noticeable and that consistent. There were holes in the logic of her whole character and her character's actions. In my rewrite of this movie, the first two acts are the same. In the third act, they kill Jasper sooner. And then she is acting very relaxed and goes into fixer mode because she is a hitman. And then it's full circle. The entire movie he's been saying, hitmen don't exist, hitmen aren't real. And people are so surprised to hear that. So wouldn't it have made so much sense if in the end, all of her weird behavior turned out to be because she was a hitman all along and she was trying to hire him to kill her ex-husband so that there's no links back to her. And then when she found out, that was genuine surprise when she found out that he wasn't a hitman. She's a pro, okay? She's a super pro. Like Mr. and Mrs. Smith style. And so she wanted to find a hitman who was like lower on the totem pole, a little bit easier to get to, who would probably fuck up and get caught. And she had an ulterior motive the whole time. That's why she laid it on so thick when they first met. That's why she pursued him afterwards, even though she is a woman who has supposedly just escaped from an abusive relationship with a dangerous man and is now trying to pursue another relationship with a arguably way more dangerous man, someone who is a contract killer, or so she thinks. That doesn't make any sense. And at first I was like, oh, this is just written by a man. But then I kept thinking there's going to be a plot twist because there were so many little things that happened. There's one part where he finds out that her husband's dead, and that she did it. She says it so casually. She is giving a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde in that she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, da-da-da-da. Oh, well, I killed him. And he's like, what? And she's like, why are you being so weird about it? You do this all the time, whatever. But like, girl, you've never done it before. You've just bought a gun for the first time. You should be freaking out. And then actually it was very cute when she was like, I was gonna tell you. Like, that was very cute. The face she did, like she was a little bratty and funny in that moment. It was like, she's so blasé about the fact that she's just killed someone that's like her ex-husband. Well, not her ex-husband, we find out, her current husband, who if he dies, she maybe gets his entire life insurance. So it looks really sus and she's not worried at all. Like, it didn't make sense. And then he goes up to the closet. She follows him and he starts packing a bag for her. She's like, what are you doing? He's like, we're getting out of here. We'll be fucked. And then she takes the bag. She's unbothered. She takes the bag and she puts it on the ground. And then you see a shot of her stepping onto the bag and then reaching up and kissing him. And I go, that's a clue. There was something in that bag that he was not allowed to see. So she's distracting him with her sexuality and her feminine wiles. And she does the same thing at the Frosty shop. She distracts him with her boobies and her beautiful face and like her baby voice. And I was like, girl, this is very weird. Like, and also when he brought it up, what are the chances that we see your husband at the exact club the first time we ever go out together? And then you goad him and me into a scenario where I pull out my gun. I was like, she has ulterior motives at the very least. So that's why it was so unsatisfying, the ending. The way it turns out in the end is that she doesn't have ulterior motives. she's just dumb and doesn't understand the consequences of her actions, which is not satisfying because we know she's not dumb. And there's so many clues that were along the way. It feels like there was a rewrite or something, and they could only make it work so much. And it just didn't quite make sense. It's like, why would you say it's a coincidence that we saw the husband? And why would you show that one shot for a couple seconds of her stepping on top of the bag to stop him from packing it? Nothing is on screen by accident. It was a shot of him, a shot of her. She puts the bag down, and then it's a shot looking at the floor where she steps onto the bag, and then cuts to a shot of her going to kiss him. Why would you put that in? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then there's a few other things, like the way she reacted when she found out that he wasn't a real hitman, that I think that felt like genuine surprise, versus the way she's acting when she's finding other stuff out, or the way that she is like hypersexualizing herself and going right back out there into the dating world immediately after leaving an abusive relationship with like so much confidence, wearing these red dresses and stuff. And everyone's different, but I would say, typically speaking, if you're in an abusive relationship, your confidence takes a hit. That's what it was giving when we first saw her. And then it's like she switched too. She switched her persona. And everything she was doing made it feel like she had an ulterior motive. So then why did they give us that stale bread ending where it's like, we killed a guy together, we're gonna cover up the murder and live happily ever after and have kids? I'm like, wait, what? It's like in a dream when you're in your middle school desk and then all of a sudden an elephant comes through the window and starts firing Nerf guns. It doesn't make sense. It's out of place.
Yeah.
Everything made sense up to then. Like, doesn't it feel like there was a rewrite or something? Or they re-edited it somehow?
You and I thought the exact same thing, because I was like, the way that she's acting and the way that she's really putting on the like sexy stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, there has to be a reason why she's doing this. I was thinking of the same thing that you were thinking, where like she was gonna turn out to be her own like hitman or something. But she knew that if she did it, it was gonna like come back to her. So that's why she wanted to outsource it. But then I was thinking that like she still wanted him to kill her husband, her ex-husband.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to pay for it. She wanted to seduce him and then get him like super passionate, super in love with her, so that when a confrontation happens, like at the club, he would have pulled a gun on him and then killed him. Because when he pulled the gun on Ray, the way she goaded him, I was like, she wants him to kill him for her still. And I guess leave, or he would have gotten caught and whatever, and she would have been like, discount, and like she got good sex out of it.
And then she disappears because she's a professional. You know?
Then, she disappears. She's a professional, or like she cashes in the insurance money and then she's gone.
Yeah, like maybe she's a con artist.
Yeah, I was like, those were two things. Those were the two things that I thought of, because it felt like there were so many things being laid out, like you said.
And why would you take all the time to lay that groundwork and then not deliver and give us that bland ass Disney Channel fucking ending? It didn't make sense.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. And also, I thought something had to be revealed when she poisoned Jasper, because
that was another thing. She did it so casually.
That's exactly right. It's like when she did that and she was like, I'm so fucked. I drugged him. And I was like, is she just trying to get him to take the fall? I fully agree with you. In the rewrite, like I would have done a plot twist like that to have been like kind of more fun or whatever, or just like to make sense of the things that felt like they were being dropped.
Yeah, and another thing I just realized is that throughout the movie, they kept on talking about how there's someone out there for everyone. They just have to match your type of crazy. And then he goes, yeah, I got such a rush from doing this fake hitman thing. Who out there is going to match my crazy, you know? And it's this lady who does the exact same thing, or does it for real. And then they could have had like a run off into the sunset type of ending. It's like, we're on the run, we're two people in love and criminal. If she wasn't trying to goad him into harming Ray and or killing him or just being a dangerous dude, then at the very least she was attracted to the danger of him, meaning they're both attracted to the thrill, the danger. Yeah. So that means they're a good fit for each other. And it's like love in the unlikeliest places, lol.
Yeah. How do we tell our kids this, you know? We just tell them we meet at a cafe That was one of my dislikes, was kind of the ending slash, like, it's not that I didn't like the romance. I like aspects of it, but it felt like there needed to have been more.
Yes.
You know?
There was a lot of just sex montages.
There was a lot of just sex montages, and to be honest, I'm not mad about it. If they were bad sex montages, then I would have been mad about it. If they were not sexy, then I would have been mad about it. But unfortunately, Your Honor, they were very sexy. They will live in my brain forever.
In the archives.
It was not good to see, but like they needed to be there to show like this is why they both keep coming back to this, because clearly they are having really good, fun, earth-shattering sex.
Bangarang, off the wall sex. Yeah.
And that's why when they were kind of negotiating, where she was like, yeah, I want you to keep seeing you, and he's like, I can't give much. She's like, I'll take whatever. I normally would roll my eyes, but I was like, I don't blame her. She's literally setting up like it's like her fun creative time, you know? She gets to play dress up herself.
This is her enrichment time in her enclosure.
Yes, because they were literally always doing it in her house. So it's like it truly was her enrichment times.
Yeah. The first thing that set off my spidey senses that something was not right about her was when she said, I have a place of my own, like it's a mess, but it's mine. And then you see her beautiful house, 2-story house. She's like, I have a little apartment, it's a mess. Girl, how did you afford that? Because it was implied that she didn't have a lot of freedom, and the only money she had was what was in that envelope.
Yeah.
I know how much each individual throw pillow costs. There's no way. No way.
There's no way. I know. Beautiful kitchen.
So nice.
Modern furniture.
What? She just had that sexy cop outfit?
All of her silky dresses.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't have too many dislikes of this movie. That's really the major one. Kind of like the ending slash like not really sticking the landing. Everything else was like fun. I think it was well done. I think the script felt overall good.
Lots of good quotes.
Yeah, lots of good quotes. I didn't get to write down all of them because I was entertained by the movie. But I really like a lecturing Glen Powell. You know how sometimes they make like an actor a professor? And they just don't sound like they know anything.
When it's an iPhone face professor, yeah.
Yes. That's a funny way of putting it.
You can't just put glasses on someone and put them at the front of a lecture hall.
Yeah, and a cardigan with elbow patches makes them a professor.
But I buy it from him.
Yeah. One of my other dislikes, like the guy who played Jasper, he did a good job because I really did not like Jasper, and he really, every time he was on screen, it really freaked me out. Because he was so slimy, greasy, smarmy.
Yeah.
And I like him. But other things I did like Retta, her interactions with that other cop. I don't know his name.
The one who had the sneaky pickle hat?
Sure.
He had a ball cap that just said sneaky pickle. I was like, that's so cute. I love it. I didn't catch his name though.
I didn't catch his name. I don't remember the actor's name, and I didn't look it up. But yeah, I like them. I think they were funny. A lot of my favorite quotes came from that like little interaction with them, which clearly seemed like it was improv when they were talking about Gary's Ron character.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say. I know the one you're going to say.
And then we did talk about the romance. Like, again, we women here are not going to be the ones to throw stones as to behaving a little wildly because a really hot man is around. And like, I really don't blame her, because like if she really was under this one man's control who's like arguably not as hot, because if you're going to be under control of a man, at least let him be hot.
You've been indoctrinated.
But yeah, so like I mean, I don't blame her necessarily, because like the second she has some semblance of freedom, she's like, hair curly, silky dresses, no bras, thigh highs, I'm gonna fuck the shit out of like the first man who's nice to me. And it just so happens it's like the hottest man in New Orleans.
Yeah, sweet, like really, really good circumstances for our girl, Madison.
Yeah.
That worked out great for her.
However cringy all of her like pursuing him, like all the sexy kind of stuff, however cringy it could have been, I feel like it was bordering, but then it never kind of crossed to the point that it was, because I think they are really hot people and they pulled it off.
Yeah. Could have been worse. Definitely could have been worse.
It could have been worse. It could have made me feel worse, but it didn't. And then like their romance as a whole, I was like, there's not much here beyond really good sex.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you guys are falling in love with each other, but I guess you do.
I mean, at one point it did feel kind of like out of the blue when he was like, because I love you. And she was like, oh, you love you too. It was just like, it was so odd. When I was watching him be in that meeting where they were like almost exposing exactly what happened, and then Jasper is like being sus with him, I was like, oh, he's gonna flip on her.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Because
too.
like they don't know each other that well, and like, yeah, I get it, like you guys like quote unquote hanging out, but like I just think that I never saw enough interaction to show love.
Mm-hmm.
It showed
Mm-hmm.
infatuation. You have to be really ride or die with someone to risk a murder charge and like obstruction of justice and all the other shit that comes along with it. And they had 2 on their hands at the end.
Especially then adding a second murder charge, which stressed me the fuck out.
And that didn't make sense either. The logic for why they could kill Jasper didn't make any sense. They're like, he's a shitty cop. People will just be happier if he's gone. And it's like, I mean, maybe, but like, they're still gonna look into it. The fuck? He's a cop.
I just wish it didn't happen in her home, because he was talking about driving it to like driving the body to like the river. They're gonna find it with the bag on his head. And also, what was stressing me the fuck out was that Gary was putting the plastic bag on him, flipping him over, no gloves, fingerprints all over him.
That's why it feels like a rush to rewrite that whole ending. It doesn't make any sense.
And then the worst part of that fucking ending is when they're like basically solidifying their partnership for life, and they're like, I guess I'm stuck with you. And they start having sex
next to a dying and then dead body.
I was like, this is dark. I get it. It's silly, but I already had post-nut clarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like the whole movie, the dark comedy was really playing on the edge. And then they did that, and this is like, this ain't funny anymore. This is sociopathy.
It is
something.
And also, like, logistically, now, because I'm in my clarity era, I'm then just thinking about all of the fucking loose threads that need tying. I'm not cheering you on for your romance and your life together. I'm stressed the fuck out.
And the way they wrap it up too feels so like, I don't feel safe. A satisfying ending can be ambiguous, but it should feel final. It should feel like the end of the story. This didn't feel like the end of the story. I felt like something bad was still going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they never gave us the payoff of a plot twist earlier. And so it felt like an axe hanging over our heads as the audience that's going to come down who knows when.
Yeah.
But then it just had this like rosy, happy ending. They're married. She's got bangs to show time has passed, and they have 2 children in this nice house. And then he's talking about, oh, be who you want to be authentic, and you hopefully can become a different and better person. Huh? Not you, though. Not you, Glenn. Or you, Madison, Matilda, Melinda.
No, but yes, him, because now he's hot and he can openly talk about birds while being hot.
He's
so
not
now he's
a better
the
person.
He's the best. He's the best of both worlds. You get the best of both worlds.
I just don't understand how you can bold-faced write, rehearse, record, and publish him saying you can become a better person when you have just showed him killing a guy with a plastic bag over his head and then having sex next to the dying and dead body. And you know that they hid that, and you know that he covered up another murder that she did. Bro, what are you talking about? If anything, she could make you a worse person.
But Molly, the justification for it is that they were shitty dudes. That's why okay murder.
Sweaty premise.
Okay go, more like okay murder. Okay sign here on the dotted line, which is also my penis.
My nipple. That was kind of funny when he said initial here and pointed to his nipple. That was pretty funny, actually.
That was funny. He's like, and another initial here. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, again... It could be cringy, but it just worked.
Yeah.
But not the ending.
I was annoyed.
Not the ending.
A better person.
Anything else you want to say?
I liked the found footage montage of the hitmen from movies that was earlier on when he was explaining that hitmen aren't real, and people are always so shocked to find out that they're not real. I have a few quotes.
Yes, please hit me with
it.
Hit me with your fave quotes.
I liked when he's hanging out with his ex and she says, to kill someone, you'd have to have the capacity for passion, implying that that's why he could never be a real hitman. And that was big oof. That was a hard hitter line. He was like, emotional damage. I liked when Retta said, I would rip my IUD out for Ron.
Yep. You know, is that the quote that you knew I was going to like?
That's the one.
Yep.
Yep.
Not a breeding kink.
Catherine Corpus Ramachandran, you go to your room right this instant. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Oh my god. On Maine, Cat. On Maine.
I've said worse things.
Yeah, you're right. I've seen worse things on your other podcast.
Yeah.
Your alternate universe podcast. I liked a lot when Ray is like coming down the alleyway and antagonizing Ron and Moanda. What's her name again? Fuck, I keep forgetting her name. I'm just gonna call her Moanda. And then she's getting like flustered, and then at one point he's like, fuck this, and he turns around like out of nowhere on a dime, and he whips out the Glock, has it in his face like this, and we're getting the like down the barrel angle.
Yeah.
And he goes, apologize, motherfucker. And then she goes, yeah, apologize, motherfucker, from behind him, like, there's the door, bitch. That was so funny to me.
Yeah, it was very funny.
I really liked when he is explaining to her that he is not a real hitman. And she's like, so wait, you're not a hitman? And he goes, no, I work at a college. This hitman gig is just a part-time thing. And the way he says it, he's like trying to rush through it and like problem solve in his head. His phone is ringing. She's talking to him. And he's like very distractedly says it.
He's overstimulated.
Yeah. Get it. I get it. Been there.
I also love when it was like the third time call. He's like, you called me 3 times.
Get it off me. My favorite quote is when this is during the first sting operation that he does undercover. And he's talking to the guy and trying to set up the hit. And he's explaining to him how he disposes of the body. And he goes, yeah, I just cut off all their fingertips, divide up the number of fingers by the number of miles I'm driving, and then throw the finger out the window every, 5 miles or so. And then this guy who's trying to like contract him is like, shit, you just tossed them fingers out the window?
Shit.
This is so Louisiana guy. I loved it.
I love the Louisiana accent.
I love it. And there's a character later who tries to get him to kill his ex-wife who has like the most Cajun accent.
Yeah.
It always kind of sounds fake at first when I hear it. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm with it now.
Yeah. He sounded like the guy I got my first tattoo from.
Screwy Louie?
Yeah, do you remember him?
I remember he said his nickname was The Fuck. And we were like, oh, they just call you The Fuck? He's like, no, they call me Screwy the Fuck Louie. I love it because it's so ambiguous.
Yeah.
Is it like he says that all the time? Like, what the fuck? Or is it because he's confusing as a person, which he was deeply? Or is it for some other reason?
Yeah.
It could be anything. He never explained it.
No. He was so funny.
Do you have any quotes?
I have definitely that IUD one. I also wrote down, obviously. I like when Gary did his first job as like the first character, and then he came back to the van and Retta goes, okay, Daniel Day.
That was very funny.
I love the way she said it. Retta can say anything and I would laugh. And then he's sitting in the back when they're like driving back to his car. He's sitting in the back. The Sneaky Pickle is driving and Retta's sitting in the passenger seat. And they're like kind of complimenting him. They couldn't believe that he pulled it off. And then like, yeah, Gary, like, what do you do? Like, what do you like? And then he's just like wistfully looking out the window, being his like weird nerdy self. And every time he would say something, they would like make eyes at each other. And one of the things that he said while looking out the window, he's like, yeah, I've been out there a few times birding. And then they look at each other, they're like, birding. And then I love, like, in that same scene where instead of turning up music or something, which is what you would normally do to, like, drown out the sound of Gary, she just turns on the AC and the fan so loudly so that she hears him less.
So funny.
One of the people that he was trying to entrap, it was the lady who's, like, trying to get a divorce, and she wanted her husband killed so that she doesn't have to split the house with him. And she's putting the moves on Glen Powell, which is also so funny because, like, he has his rat tail ponytail, and then he has these fake teeth in. And she still's like, that's a hot man.
She sees what you see.
Her and I are the same. That was actually me.
I think what you think, you old bitch.
I think what you think, you old hag. She's like, after you murder him, whatever. And she goes, and after he's gone, I'll be in that big house all alone with her hand on his lap. And she's like, and he's like, oh.
He went,
I'm just a boy. And then I can't even remember what's happening in the scene. I think he's also talking to like another prospect, And he just goes, I guess I'm just your fantasy. And I was like,
I pop my fan out, start furiously fanning myself.
okay, anyway, so here's the money. I gotta go.
You know what? Do you want to, what are you doing later?
What are you doing, like, after you're done work? Like, what time do you get off?
What do you, like, after you're done, like this whole thing, like, what do you, are you still in the neighborhood? What part of town do you live in?
What time do you get off, and how do you like to get off?
And then you just look.
I just go, hold on, please hold. I just go, big boy.
Oh, I'm crying.
Oh, and I'm gonna be all alone in that house by myself.
No.
You didn't see me do it.
Please, wait. When you articulated them, it went, it squeaked a little bit.
You heard it go. What time do you get off?
Oh my god. It's giving Boyle for some reason.
I would fuck in this outfit. Are you kidding?
And like roller skates for some reason. Am I reading the room?
And be like, Jake. Jake's like, oh. Charles. Enough.
Charles, scale back a little bit. One thing at a time here.
I also liked when Sneaky Pickle was like, I will take your sloppy seconds.
That whole conversation was so funny.
Very funny.
Them going back and forth, trying to out-slut each other.
I already mentioned that other line where the student is like, excuse me, when did our professor get hot? Like that.
Like a mean girl in an 80s movie. Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, what, hello, when are the students going to notice that he's getting hotter and hotter and more confident?
They literally have Indiana Jones as their prof right now.
God.
Teaching them something about human psychology, something. You know that one TikTok that's like, and then they stole the Glarnock, and then blah, 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 blah. That's what I would hear every time I go to that professor's lecture. And I would keep going, and I would audit it after I graduate.
Molly?
Yes.
What would you rate this movie?
This is really hard for me, actually.
I agree.
Because I think that the first two acts were a slam dunk, and then the last one was...
a slam. Funk.
Yeah, dude.
So you could say that again.
Yeah, I guess you could see it was a slam funk. It just felt so disappointing and so, I don't know, a 6, I guess. Let's say 6 fuck-ass bobs out of 10. How about you?
I would give it 6 fat envelopes of money out of 10.
Sweet. Very visceral, satisfying rating scale choice. I like that.
Thank you. We didn't even talk, like, we talked about the wigs, but, like, we didn't even do one wig joke. Do you wear wigs?
What's wrong with us?
We're not ourselves.
Are we off our game? Have we peaked and now we're going into a valley?
Who nut-tapped us and ran away?
We were too, you know what this was? Actually, I forgive us. Because you know what? We were blinded by beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous Glen Powell. Gorgeous GP, Glen Powell, gorgeous, perfect. And what can be expected of us? Just 2 girls trying to have a rom-com review podcast. And when we're looking at this, and what does that say for us for our next movie?
Oh my
God. Further down the rabbit hole.
Molly, where can the people find you on the internet?
Something about this wig makes me feel like the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park.
Oh my God.
Clever girl.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine like a little Velociraptor trying to tuck her wig back?
Oh, she's just a girl. Her bangs are...
I'm so sorry.
What? Who are you apologizing to?
Right, I'm sorry for apologizing. It's a vicious cycle.
But yeah, Molly, where can people find you if you want them to find you?
If you want to find me outside of the cage of the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Molly's Outbox. And you can find the podcast everywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to listen and if you want to watch, you can get it on YouTube at VomCom Podcast. And we are also on Instagram and TikTok. Kat, how about you?
You can find me on literally anything at It's Catherine Ram. Say bye, motherfucker.
Bye, motherfucker.
Bye.